this article's origins lay right back in 2009 when I was a visiting scholar at the Centre for Strategic International Studies. And there I was assigned to the section which was focused on post-conflict reconstruction and stabilisation operations. And one of my briefs was to look at the effectiveness of the provincial reconstruction teams operating in Afghanistan and Iraq at the time. And I thought this would be a pretty easy task. But what I found was that the evaluation techniques in place were, well, they were pretty hopeless. From what we could find out, I didn't know whether or not the civil development programs were having a positive effect on stability and the level of violence, having no effect at all, or even having a negative effect. There was just no way of knowing. It's become institutional knowledge, so it's been passed down from generation to generation that this is called I call it the attitudinal approach to counterinsurgency. It's all about the attitude of the civilian population. So the winner of an insurgency, according to this approach, will be the side which the civilians prefer to see victorious. It, in a sense, becomes a violent election. Whoever the civilian population votes for, in a sense, wants to win, that will be the winner, because either the insurgents will be isolated or the government will be isolated. The way that civil development is allocated by the government tends to be as a public good. So it tends to be as roads, hospitals, schools, and it's not demanding any behavioural change from the civilians, whereas on the insurgent side, when they supply economic incentives, it tends to be far more targeted. So we will give you $200 if you go out and you plant some mines. Yeah, we'll pay you to go out and cut down telephone poles. Yeah, so if you're a rational peasant set up in this situation, why wouldn't you support the insurgents, get your $200, but then you also get access to the roads, hospitals, schools, wells, and what the government's supplying you? Okay, so the idea would be is to, in Uruzgan province, is to identify like villages, okay, which seem to be alike on all the covariates, which would be size, population, location, economy, what they grow there. Try and get these cities to be, or these towns, these villages, to be like in as many different areas as you can. Then, through randomisation, a coin toss, you decide which village, town, city gets the hospitals, schools, wells, and which one is treated as a control group. Yeah, we can then go back in later on, and then we can start to measure. Well, how has security improved? Has governance improved in the treatment group over the control group? It's not immoral at all, it's amoral, in the sense that there's only a limited amount of resources available to construct schools, hospitals, wells, roads. You can't supply these goods across the country. So up until this point, deciding upon who gets it and who doesn't has been more of a political process. It's based upon lobbying, based upon if the decision makers have particular contacts within villages, and so I guess you can make a strong case to say, well, this is actually a fairer way. I mean, I think that it could be quite surprising. I mean, one of the big differences between a laboratory experiment and what we do in social science is that we're not competing against nature, we're competing against humans. Yeah, and so what you could actually find is that civil development could make things better, but perversely make things worse. Because if governance tends to be improved in one particular village over another, then the Taliban or the opposition might concentrate their efforts in combating those improvements in the treatment group over the control group.